I don't understand how someone can disrespect their partner so much as to approach them and directly say they want an extramarital relationship. In my opinion, if a married couple starts such a conversation, they should either get divorced immediately or seek help from a psychologist. But my wife decided to take a different approach. If you truly love me, you'll allow me to do this. How many husbands have heard those words from their wives? That's what my wife said to me during what was supposed to be a romantic dinner celebrating our 5th anniversary. And just like that, everything fell apart. How did we even get to this point? My stunning, 29-year-old wife had just disclosed her desire to engage in extramarital affairs. She was straightforward about it, or at least it seemed that way to me. I had planned an elegant dinner at one of our favorite upscale restaurants, complete with white tablecloths and a respectable wine selection. I even bought her the diamond necklace she'd been hinting at since her birthday, nearly $1,000. Now I find myself wondering how to get that money back. During the meal, I noticed her unease. Our usual relaxed conversations had shifted to a forced, awkward rhythm. She seemed distracted, her eyes darting around the room as though searching for something, or someone. Normally, she'd meet my gaze while talking, but tonight she avoided eye contact, focusing instead on the table or her wine glass. As we finished the main course and poured another glass of wine, she finally broke the silence. "Honey, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. It's been bothering me for a while now, and I feel like I need to address it." Setting down my wine glass, I paused, wondering what could possibly be troubling her. Her tone was serious, and I could tell this wasn't just a passing thought. My mind immediately jumped to the idea of starting a family. We'd discussed it many times over the past 3 years but had postponed parenthood until we'd progressed further in our careers and saved more. Now that we'd achieved those goals, I was eager to expand our family. Could this be the moment she was finally ready? But her avoidance of eye contact told me otherwise. When someone wants to discuss starting a family, they typically wear a wide grin and maintain unwavering eye contact. "Darling, there's something I want to discuss that you might not agree with right away, but it's important to me. I've given it a lot of thought," Andrea, my wife of 5 years, said hesitantly. I nodded, signaling her to continue. "I feel the need to venture beyond our relationship, to explore life. I think it will help me understand myself better and, ultimately, make me a better partner for you." Her words left me dumbfounded. Confusion, disbelief, and anger swept through me all at once. "What the hell? I'm sorry, what?" I interjected, pressing my hands firmly onto the table and locking eyes with her, my face a mix of shock and disbelief. Avoiding my gaze, she continued. "I want to pursue other connections, Rob. I want your consent in advance so there won't be any unpleasant surprises." My frustration surged. My pulse quickened, and tension gripped my chest. "What kind of connections are we talking about, Andrea?" She hesitated. "Possibly various kinds, I suppose." Her vague response only deepened my confusion. My breaths grew shallow, my chest tightening with each passing second. "Could you clarify that a bit, please?" I asked, my tone firm. "Well," she finally admitted, "I'm considering seeing other men." My heart dropped. "What the hell are you talking about, Andrea? You want to cheat and expect me to be okay with it? What kind of twisted logic is this?" My voice rose, and I realized nearby diners might overhear us. "Lower your voice, dear. There's no need for everyone to eavesdrop on our conversation," Andrea urged, attempting to hush me. I realized she had deliberately chosen this public setting to drop her news, likely to prevent me from causing a scene. She caught me completely off guard. I felt nauseous, my stomach twisted into knots. All I could manage was a bewildered, "Why? Why do you want to see other men, Andrea?" She hesitated, then replied, "Well, I feel I need space to discover myself." "Discover yourself? What does that even mean, Andrea? Are you suggesting you want to sleep with other men? Are you leaving me?" "No, Darling, I'm not leaving you, she said quickly. There are various reasons why I feel compelled to do this, but please believe me, I love you deeply. You're my soulmate. I envision a future together, starting a family, growing old together. Right now, though, I need to explore certain aspects of myself that I'm not experiencing in our relationship. I just need your permission to explore these things, that's all. It would only be for a few months, and then I'd be yours and only yours again. Rob, your wife, I promise. Her words were like a slap in the face. This scenario was worse than anything I could have imagined. During our 5th anniversary dinner, my wife dropped a bombshell. She wanted to sleep with other men and expected me to passively accept this arrangement. She promised to come back to our marriage as a better wife, as if nothing had happened. I was dumbfounded. Speechless. My mind went blank, and I couldn't even breathe. Standing up, I delicately placed my napkin on the table, picked up my wine glass, and finished its contents. Carefully setting it down, I turned and left the restaurant. Darling, where are you going? She called after me. I don't know. But I think you'll need to take a cab home, I said without looking back. I left the restaurant, got into my car, started it, and drove off without a destination in mind. My head throbbed with pain, and time became a blur. The next morning, I awoke in my car, struggling to recognize my surroundings. Stretching and yawning, I tried to piece together the events of the previous night, hoping it had all been a terrible dream. I desperately needed to use the restroom and craved a strong cup of coffee. Relieving myself in some nearby bushes, I climbed back into my car and set off to find a diner. At a small roadside spot, I grabbed breakfast and coffee, contemplating how to deal with Andrea's revelation. Letting her sleep with other men was out of the question. It would mean the end of our marriage. As I mulled it over, doubts about her mental state crept in. Perhaps she was experiencing some kind of breakdown or indulging in unrealistic fantasies. I couldn't be sure. When I powered on my phone, I found numerous missed calls and text messages from Andrea, all expressing concern about my whereabouts. The idea of going home didn't appeal to me, but I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. After finishing my meal, I devised a rough plan of action and decided it was time to return. Pulling into our driveway, Andrea emerged from the front door. Sweetheart, where were you all night? I was so worried. I feared you'd had an accident or ended up in a ditch somewhere. She leaned in for a kiss, but I stepped back. Andrea, I'm going to take a shower first. Then we need to have a serious conversation about your journey of self-discovery, as you put it last night, I said firmly before brushing past her and heading upstairs. In the shower, I tried to organize my thoughts. What could I say to her? What did I even want from this conversation? Was she testing my devotion? Trying to push me away? I was completely in the dark that I thought I loved her. Hell, I married her. We had a lavish wedding and an unforgettable honeymoon in Europe. I had been faithful, never even considered straying. But now I was beginning to wonder if she shared the same commitment. Luckily, we didn't have kids yet. Whether we ever would depended entirely on what unfolded in the coming days and weeks. After dressing in fresh clothes, I headed to the kitchen. Andrea was already there, perched at the island, watching me intently. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down with a notepad and pen. All right, Andrea. Explain to me again why you feel the need to pursue relationships outside of our marriage. She hesitated, then began, Darling, I crave validation as a woman. Right now, I don't feel like my needs are being fulfilled. I need the freedom to explore and see if I can find that fulfillment independently, Andrea said. So, are you suggesting you want to temporarily leave me to figure out what you want? I asked. No, darling. I'm not suggesting leaving. I intend to stay right here with you in our home, but I need autonomy over my time and actions, she replied. When do you plan to start this exploration and establish your new schedule, Andrea? Well, I suppose any time works for me. Do you support my decision to do this? No, I don't support any of this, Andrea. When we got married, we vowed to be partners and lovers for life, and now you want to seek intimacy elsewhere. What am I supposed to make of this? It feels like you're ready to walk away from our marriage. Darling, it's different from that, she said, her tone almost pleading. I'm searching for a connection between us that we've been lacking for a couple of years now. Our lives revolve around work, work, work. We don't have as much fun as we used to. I don't feel valued in the way I did when we first got married. Valued? My God, everything I do is for you. I've been working tirelessly so we can build a family and achieve the dreams we talked about when we got married. This house is nearly paid off, for heaven's sake. My anger rose, and I had to take a deep breath to calm myself before I completely lost my temper. Are you considering sleeping with other men? I asked, addressing the issue head-on. Andrea hesitated, then said, Darling, I'm not sure what I'll do yet. If the circumstances and person are right, I might consider it. So, you're planning to cheat on me? It's not about cheating, Rob. It's not cheating if you're aware of it. The audacity of her logic left me speechless. I took a long sip of my coffee, wishing it were something much stronger. I needed to control my emotions to get through this. Let me make sure I understand, Andrea. You're going to date other men, go on dates, and maybe sleep with them, all while still staying here at home. Is that correct? Sweetheart, it's not as straightforward as that, she said softly. I don't know, Andrea. It seems pretty straightforward to me. Are you suggesting we do anything together during this time? You're still married, you know. Are we just pausing our marriage for a while? Do you expect us to still be intimate while you're doing this? Of course, Rob. We're a family, you and me. I love you dearly and want us to stay a family. This is just something I feel I need to do occasionally to figure things out for myself. How often do you plan on doing this, Andrea? Every weekend? A couple of times during the week? Nightly? How much exploring are we talking about? I'm not sure yet, darling. Why are you so concerned about the frequency? Well, I need to decide what I'm going to do while you're dating and having fun with your potential new partner. I don't have a boyfriend, Rob, at least not yet, she said quietly. I took another deep breath, trying to remain calm. I was on the verge of losing my temper, and it took considerable effort to keep myself in check. Andrea, I need to clarify some things before we move forward. Have you truly decided that this is what you want? Have you considered the impact this will have on our marriage? Andrea nodded but avoided directly answering my question. It was clear she hadn't fully considered how I might feel about her decision, or that I might have thoughts of my own. Then she said it. If you love me, you'll let me do this. I retorted, Andrea, if you truly love me, you won't go through with this. That was my boundary, and I made it clear. Honey, I've decided that this is what I'm going to do. You can't convince me otherwise, she said firmly. And that was it, the ultimatum that would determine our future. She hadn't thought enough about the consequences to realize that premeditated infidelity is a deal-breaker in marriage. All right, I said, shifting gears. These are my terms, and they're non-negotiable. If you want to pursue other relationships, you'll need to find a new place to live. I won't share a home with you while you're dating and sleeping with other men. And don't even think about bringing them here, that's off the table. Darling, where am I supposed to go? Well, maybe you could stay with one of your friends. What about Jessica, that woman from school you've been spending so much time with? You mentioned she's divorced and lives alone. Give her a call and see if you can stay with her for a while. If that doesn't work out, you can look into renting a short-term apartment, but you'll have to cover all the expenses, utilities and your car payments included. Andrea, a third-grade teacher at the local elementary school, earned a comfortable income. Meanwhile, I worked as a forensic auditor for a large firm, enjoying a good salary and annual bonuses. It seems I may not be meeting all your needs in our relationship, I acknowledged, meeting her gaze for the first time since our conversation began. Andrea looked back at me, sensing some form of victory in her argument. Continuing with your suggestion of an open marriage, I said calmly, I suppose I'll need to be understanding while you pursue other affairs. But will you still return home to me once it's all said and done? Darling, I love you deeply. You're my spouse. I want us to build a family together. And what do you expect me to do while you're out with other men? Should I remain faithful? Sit at home and wait for you to finish with your boyfriends, then welcome you back with open arms? Is that what you anticipate, Andrea? Have you even considered how this will affect me? I want you as my spouse and only you. Whatever happens while I'm away won't matter once I come back to you. I want you to be my partner and the father of our children. I found it peculiar that she seemed to have accepted my refusal to allow her to bring other men into our home for intimacy. Perhaps she thought this was a victory for her, that she could socialize with other men without me intervening. All right, I said. Figure out where you'll stay and let me know by the end of the week. For now, we need to address some matters here. Please move your belongings to the spare bedroom. I'm not sure if I can share the same bed with you right now. Your plan is too painful. It feels like you're leaving me without explicitly saying it. So tell me, what am I supposed to make of this? Andrea's silence spoke volumes. It seemed she was beginning to understand that I wouldn't passively accept this situation. Perhaps she was taken aback by my insistence on her leaving our bed. But what had she expected? Did she truly believe I would naively allow her to engage in infidelity, only to return home expecting us to carry on as a happy couple, have children, and live a normal life? Absolutely not. Andrea had developed a close friendship with another teacher, Jessica, and I suspected her influence might be behind this foolishness. Jessica, a divorced grade 4 teacher at the same school, had been kicked out by her husband 2 years ago after he discovered her infidelities with multiple partners. At 35, Jessica was an attractive woman with an appealing physique, but her downfall lay in her tendency to entertain any man who showed interest. I couldn't shake the feeling that Jessica's influence was driving Andrea's desire to explore herself before starting a family. For me, the harsh reality was clear: if Andrea continued down this path, there wouldn't be a family, not with me. Instead, the only outcome would likely be a divorce. I rose from the table and began to walk away. Andrea's voice stopped me. Is this the end, Rob? Are you asking me to leave? Yeah, that's the current situation, Andrea. Don't misunderstand me, I don't want this at all. When we got married, we made a commitment to be faithful. You're intending to break that commitment, so what do you expect me to do? Sit idly by while you engage with other men? If you desire an open marriage, then I suppose I have the same right. Andrea was left speechless as I grabbed my car keys and headed out of the house. Where are you off to, honey? She asked. I'm not entirely sure yet, I replied. But remember to move your belongings to the spare room and start searching for a place to stay. And just so we're clear, you don't get to betray our marriage until you've moved out. I turned and left, slamming the door with more force than I intended. If it came down to it, I was ready to be the one to leave. But given that my wife had instigated this mess, she could deal with the inconvenience. Moreover, I suspected Jessica was heavily influencing Andrea, and I was tempted to confront her. But I restrained myself. By Monday morning, I woke early and left for my office before Andrea even got out of bed. Her intentions loomed over me like a dark cloud, and I knew I needed a plan. I refused to tolerate infidelity. If she had decided to end our marriage, I needed to act. The thought of her cheating on me hurt deeply. What if she contracted a disease or became pregnant? That was not an option. My first step was to call my lawyer. He was a friend who handled routine legal matters like real estate and wills. While I didn't expect him to manage the divorce proceedings himself, I knew he could recommend a competent attorney. He referred me to a skilled divorce lawyer at his firm, and I scheduled a meeting for that afternoon. It was a tough meeting, but my new attorney proved to be a skilled litigator, well versed in the laws of our state. I didn't intend for our divorce to be contentious. I was content with a fair 50-50 division of our assets. Both of us had little when we married, and we had worked hard to build a comfortable life together. I wasn't entirely heartless. For now, the necessary paperwork would be prepared and held until I had concrete evidence of Andrea's involvement with other men. This was merely a preliminary step. The week dragged on. I minimized my time at home, often heading to the gym in the evenings to relieve stress. Andrea spent more and more time with Jessica. On Thursday, she informed me she'd be staying with Jessica for a few weeks until she found a better living arrangement. It was a convenient arrangement. Jessica's place would provide a space for Andrea to spend time with her boyfriends without interruption from me. Jessica would probably be hosting her own partner simultaneously, making it quite the gathering. Good Lord, this situation was a mess. On Saturday, after 5 years and 1 week of marriage, my wife confirmed her decision to engage in extramarital relationships. She packed her belongings into her car and left. Just before departing, she hesitated and said, "Honey, I don't want to leave. Can't we find a way to work things out so I can stay? I love you deeply and truly want to improve our marriage." In response, I said, "Andrea, if you truly loved me and wanted a better marriage, you wouldn't pursue this course of action. While I want you here with me, I cannot accept you being intimate with other men while you're still my wife. I love you, but I won't tolerate that behavior. Let's go to marriage counseling together to address our issues. If you refuse, I don't know what else to say. Please leave." As she loaded her belongings into her car, I drove to the hardware store to purchase new locks for the house. I changed 3 locks and updated the security code for the garage door opener. On Saturday night and throughout Sunday, I stayed home, gazing at the walls and hoping Andrea would come to her senses and return. The following week proved exceedingly challenging. Each day, I went to the gym or went running to alleviate my stress. At times, I felt profoundly despondent, even considering pleading with her to come back. Mentally, I struggled to comprehend that my wife was choosing extramarital affairs while we were still married. I grappled with feelings of inadequacy, questioning whether my shortcomings had driven her toward infidelity. It felt that way, didn't it? I spent hours researching the psychology of infidelity and the reasons behind spousal cheating. I was surprised to learn that approximately 40% of married individuals engage in infidelity. Even more surprising was that nearly 90% of them choose to stay married. Infidelity, whether by one or both partners, is often silently accepted by the other spouse. Factors such as children frequently play a role, making it easier for the betrayed spouse to overlook the affair, especially if it's discreet, and carry on as if nothing is amiss. Many cheating wives claim to still love their husbands and families but seek excitement outside their marriages, something they feel is lacking at home. Women involved in affairs often express that the daily grind of managing a household and attending to children's activities leaves little room for excitement or intimacy with their husbands. They crave the thrill of being desired by a partner who focuses solely on them without the routine conversations about chores or kids. Perhaps the secret to a successful marriage lies in treating one's spouse with the passion and attention typically reserved for a lover. Without resorting to divorce, should I consider approaching Andrea at the club she and Jessica plan to attend? Infidelity occurs for various reasons: lack of satisfaction, lack of passion, emotional disconnection, or even retaliation for a partner's perceived neglect. Some women claim they cheat to salvage their marriages, though I'm skeptical of that claim. Regardless, marriage is intricate, requiring ongoing effort to nurture the relationship. As I reflected, I wondered, did I neglect my wife? Did I fail to give her enough attention while I pursued what I thought was necessary to build a life for us? Was I wrong? What I did know was that I was deeply unhappy when my wife left to be with other men, seeking something she felt I couldn't provide. Her actions didn't seem beneficial to our marriage, and so another slow week passed that I refrained from reaching out to Andrea. She messaged me only once, asking me to forward her mail. Her messages lacked any hint of reconciliation, they were purely transactional. It was evident she was moving forward with her plan to seek companionship, perhaps even with multiple partners. I contemplated shadowing her from the apartment to wherever she and Jessica went, curious about her rendezvous. Despite driving by her apartment a few times, I resisted the urge to stop. I couldn't subject myself to that. She needed to make her own choices, and if she did return, it had to be on her terms. Each passing day made her reconciliation seem less likely. At the same time, the longer she stayed away, the less inclined I became to welcome her back. A month after she left, Andrea unexpectedly appeared at the house. Unable to unlock the door with her key, she resorted to ringing the doorbell and knocking that I answered. "Andrea, what brings you here today?" "Honey, my key doesn't seem to work anymore." "What's going on?" "That's because I changed all the locks," I replied with a stoic expression. Andrea attempted to enter, but I blocked her path. "What do you want, Andrea?" "I came to retrieve a few belongings I left behind when I moved in with Jess," she said. Once again, her visit wasn't about seeing me. It was purely about her belongings. My feelings, or any pain I might have been experiencing, didn't seem to matter. To her, I was merely an obstacle. Did she truly believe I wouldn't care about her involvement with other men and would eventually take her back? "There are some boxes in the garage with your belongings that I gathered from around the house," I said. "Why did you do that, honey?" "I'll be returning home in a few months, so there's no need to pack everything up." I allowed her into the house. After all, it was still partly hers. We headed to the garage, where she saw the numerous boxes of her belongings ready for her to take. "How long do you plan to stay with Jessica?" I asked. "She's been really supportive. I'll be staying with her for a while. I'm confident it'll only be for a few months, and then I'll return and be an even better wife to you." "Honey, we can start a family then." I scoffed inwardly at her remark, cringing at the idea. How could sleeping with other men possibly improve her as a wife or prepare her for motherhood? In her convoluted reasoning, likely influenced by Jessica, that's what she had convinced herself to believe. Surely she must have known it was nonsense. I decided to probe further. "So, have you found a boyfriend yet?" Andrea blushed at my question, confirming what I had already suspected. "Jess and I have been on some dates with guys from our club, but that's about it." "How do you like being close to your new boyfriends?" I asked, my tone sharp. Her face remained red as she rummaged through the boxes, avoiding eye contact. I didn't press further. Instead, I left the garage and returned to the kitchen for coffee and the newspaper. A few minutes later, she entered the kitchen with a bag of her belongings, scanning the space. I think she anticipated finding the house in disarray while she was away. But it was quite the opposite. I had hired a cleaning service to come 3 times a week, and the place was immaculate. She seemed disappointed at the absence of mess. No stacks of dishes, no empty beer bottles, no heaps of laundry. The house was well maintained, even as I struggled to keep myself composed, grappling with the reality that my wife had left me for other men. "Is there anything else you require, Andrea?" I asked, sensing her curiosity about what had been happening in her absence. "So, honey, have things been all right since I started spending time with Jess?" she asked. "I'm okay. Work's been keeping me occupied, and I've been traveling quite a bit." "Honey, have you been getting out at all or just staying home alone?" There it was, the question I had anticipated. Time to subtly challenge her. "I've been keeping myself busy. I joined a cycling group. We have organized rides twice a week, starting from a set location and covering 40 to 60 miles. It's been enjoyable. I've met a lot of new people, and we usually grab a beer and a burger afterward. Cycling that distance definitely builds an appetite. Between working out and the stress, I've lost 15 pounds in the past few weeks." Exercise has been my saving grace. That's nice, she replied, her tone betraying a hint of jealousy. It was clear she wanted to know if I had met someone new. As Andrea drove away, I wondered if she was beginning to realize her plan wasn't going as expected. Perhaps her devoted husband had moved on, met someone else, and decided he didn't want to stay married to her. Perhaps her quest for excitement would have consequences she hadn't foreseen. That I soon discovered that Andrea was dating 2 men from the club she attended with Jessica. She had been intimate with both of them multiple times, but neither was interested in a serious relationship. Both men were married and merely seeking casual flings, and Andrea had unknowingly filled that role. After 2 months, I realized my marriage was over, and I needed to move forward. Andrea hadn't reached out to me in weeks, signaling she wasn't considering our marriage or me. She seemed fully immersed in her desires, showing no interest in returning home. Even if she did, it would likely come with conditions I wasn't willing to accept. My concerns deepened when I discovered she had gone on vacation to the Dominican Republic with one of her boyfriends during the school break. They enjoyed a getaway filled with sun, tanning, and other activities. If this was her idea of strengthening our marriage, it was a delusion fed by Jessica's influence. When Andrea's mother learned about the trip, she called me, assuming our separation stemmed from arguments. When I explained that Andrea had left to pursue other men, her mother was shocked. She confronted Andrea directly. "Andrea, why did you leave your home? What's going on between you and Robert? Is he mistreating you?" "No, Mom, he's not mistreating me. But he doesn't fulfill my needs for excitement right now. Rob doesn't make me feel wanted. I crave that feeling. I don't feel attractive to him, so I seek it elsewhere. I want some enjoyment before Rob and I start a family. I need this now, but I'll return to him when he appreciates me more, and everything will be fine, you'll see. Andrea, cheating will ruin your marriage. Don't you realize that? If you have affairs with other men, Robert won't want you as his wife. I'm sure Rob loves me, Mom. He understands why I need this. I'll come back home in a few months, maybe a year at most, and then we can have children. Andrea, you need to wake up and go home now, or there won't be a marriage or a husband to return to. Do you understand? Mom, I know Rob loves me, and I know what I'm doing." Even her mother couldn't reason with her. So, adopting the principle of, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I resolved to see if I was ready for a new chapter in my life. It had been about 3 months since Andrea left, and it was time for me to move forward. Summoning the courage, I asked one of the women from my cycling group, Diane, out on a date. I craved female companionship and a break from the monotonous routine I'd been stuck in since my wife left. My days consisted of work, the gym, cycling, and sleep, rinse and repeat. A part of me still hoped Andrea would come to her senses and return home, but that seemed unlikely. I had to face the reality that she probably wasn't coming back, not as the wife I married or the woman I thought I knew. Andrea appeared to be relishing her newfound freedom, chasing the excitement and validation she believed were missing in our marriage. Psychologists often cite those as motivations for married women to cheat. That I decided to take things slowly. I wanted to avoid coming off as overly eager or giving the impression that I was simply rebounding. Given the close-knit nature of our cycling group, most of my friends were aware of my separation, and some likely knew about Andrea's active dating life. In a small city, word travels fast, and gossip is inevitable. When I invited Diane for drinks and a meal, I was pleasantly surprised when she accepted. I aimed for a casual, pressure-free outing. To make the experience more enjoyable, I suggested kayaking on the lake before dinner. Though Diane had no prior kayaking experience, she expressed enthusiasm about trying it out, and our plan solidified into a date. The outing was a fantastic success. Diane had a blast kayaking, and we paddled about 10 miles over 3 hours. Afterward, we went to a nice restaurant for a meal. I opted for a steak and craft beer, while Diane chose a pasta dish with white wine. The atmosphere was relaxed and light-hearted. Later, we grabbed ice cream from a stand on the waterfront boardwalk. When I drove her home, I almost kissed her on the cheek, but she surprised me by planting a kiss on my lips. It was delightful and unexpected. To avoid seeming too eager, I waited until our regular Tuesday cycling meetup to suggest another date. Diane caught me off guard when she mentioned she thought I didn't have a good time because I hadn't called. I assured her it was quite the opposite. I had a wonderful time, especially being with her. We planned to meet again on Saturday, this time for a round of golf. I had read online about the balance required when texting or calling someone new. Constant communication can come across as needy, so I texted Diane on Friday to confirm our plans and suggest a pickup time. She agreed, asking me to pick her up in the early afternoon. Our second date was just as enjoyable. We had fun on the golf course, even though neither of us was particularly skilled. That evening, I invited Diane to my place for a barbecue and wine. When it was time to drive her home, she surprised me again, this time by taking my car keys, placing them on the kitchen counter, and asking to see the bedroom. The next morning, I woke up to find Diane lying next to me, her hand resting gently on my chest. She had dark, luscious hair, captivating green eyes, and flawless skin. A faint scar on her chin from a past cycling accident only added character to her beautiful face. Standing tall at 5 feet 11 inches, she had a slender, athletic figure, and as a nurse in the pediatric department of the local hospital, she exuded warmth and compassion. We enjoyed breakfast together on my patio, but soon the conversation shifted to me and my plans, specifically regarding my divorce. Diane wanted clarity on my intentions before investing emotionally in our relationship. It was a fair question. As I recounted the peculiar way Andrea had justified her departure, Diane's expression confirmed what I had suspected all along: Andrea wasn't coming back. That realization gave me the push I needed to proceed with the next phase of my plan. On Monday morning, I called my attorney and instructed her to engage an investigator to uncover the extent of Andrea's relationships with other men. It turned out Andrea had been seeing several men, most of them married, and their rendezvous often took place at Jessica's apartment after club outings. 2 weeks later, Andrea was served with divorce papers. That night, she appeared at my doorstep holding a large brown envelope, her expression troubled. "What brings you here tonight, Andrea?" "Honey, someone delivered these documents to me today." "Why did you file for divorce?" "I told you I'd be home soon. I was even considering coming back this week so we could start working on the baby we discussed." I invited her in and led her to the kitchen. "It's a little late for that, Andrea," I said firmly. "I told you not to leave, but you made the decision anyway." "Honey, I explained to you that I needed to find myself and feel confident," she objected. I couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. "So, do you feel confident now? Have you thoroughly studied your attractiveness, your relationships? Have you met enough interesting people and experienced enough intimacy?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Because it certainly seems like you have. I haven't heard much from you since you left. You didn't even call me on my birthday, probably because you were with one of your boyfriends in the Dominican Republic. Your own mother called me, wondering why you didn't call her on Mother's Day. Dear God, Andrea, have you been in bed with someone all this time? Darling, I love you deeply, and I realize I may have crossed a line. I'm heading home today," she said, almost pleading. "Absolutely not. Honey, what do you mean? I'm still your spouse, and this is still my home. I'm going to Jess's place to collect my belongings, and I'll be back in a few hours." "No, you won't," I replied coldly. "Have you read the documents you received? There's a court order stating you can't come within 500 feet of this house until the divorce is finalized. Technically, you're already in violation of that order. I won't report you, but you need to leave. We'll settle everything in court." Andrea's face fell as she began to grasp the seriousness of the situation. "Our wedding vows were supposed to mean something, Andrea. Love, honor, cherish, fidelity, and the commitment not to engage with other people. This house doesn't mean much to me anymore. If you want it, it's yours. My half is worth around $150,000 since it's almost paid off. Or we can sell it and split the proceeds. It's that simple. But you're not moving back in, not while I'm here. I escorted her to the door, closed it behind her, and locked it. A month later, we managed to avoid going to court and settled the divorce quietly. Andrea received half of our assets as she was legally entitled to. The house was sold, and I moved forward with my life. Andrea, meanwhile, resumed her new routine. A friend informed me that the charter school where she worked had advised her to keep her social life more discreet. It seemed some parents were uncomfortable with her dating multiple men in the community and didn't want her influencing their children. Most complaints came from mothers who privately expressed their disdain, though it was rumored that some fathers may have been among her romantic interests. Later, Andrea was diagnosed with a non-fatal sexually transmitted disease, requiring her to take a year-long break from intimate relationships. This didn't seem to alarm her too much, as she was already pregnant. It turned out one of her partners was the father. She had become careless about taking birth control and had been abusing alcohol. The child's father was never confirmed, but the baby bore a striking resemblance to one of the school's married teachers. My divorce from Andrea was finalized, freeing me from her chaos. It's been about a year since all of this began. I've bought a new house, received a promotion at work, and most importantly, Diana and I have started living together. We're thrilled to announce two big pieces of news: our upcoming summer wedding and the arrival of our baby, expected this Christmas.